Welcome to Best Buds Gardening. I'm Julie. Today we're going to talk about how to grow peanuts in containers. If you've got 100 days of warm weather, you can do it. All right, we're going to germinate some peanuts. You have to have, for peanuts, a raw peanut. It can't be roasted, it can't be salted. You cannot go to the grocery store and buy a bag of peanuts and plant them. It's just not going to work. You have to just buy raw peanuts. And then you want to gently, because there's 2 peanuts in here, you want to gently crack that open because you do not want to damage that red skin around the peanut. That has to be intact for that peanut to germinate. You don't want to peel that off. So get him out of the shell very gently without damaging that. Okay, and then we're going to do our damp paper towel method. Close him up, stick him in a baggie, and we'll come back and we'll see what those look like in a couple of days. It is 4 days later, and I've got my cups with drainage holes on the bottom, and I've labeled my cups peanut. And if we open up our damp paper towel, we will see our peanuts have germinated. That's the white root growing out of the peanut. I'm going to take my Sharpie, make a hole deep enough to put that root down into. I'm going to set my peanut in there. Do the same for this other guy. His root isn't quite as long. And then I'm going to top them off with about 1 inch of compost. You don't want to over-fertilize peanuts. They're very sensitive to over-fertilization, but if you use good compost to start out with, you won't have to worry about fertilization for the rest of the year. Now I'm going to give each of them a little drink of water. And then, after that is done, we'll wait a few more days for them to hatch. About 3 days later, here's our little peanut pushing himself up out of the soil. Peanuts grow really fast the first few days of their life. Here he is the next day, the day after that, the day after that, and a couple of days after that. I think it is so great how the peanut splits itself in half and becomes a plant. After Mr. Peanut Plant has been growing in his cup for about 2 weeks, it's time to transplant him into his permanent home, again full of some really good quality compost. We want to keep him in a place where he's going to get full sun, and we want to keep him well watered, not soggy, but very damp. Peanuts are from the tropical rainforest, and you don't want to transplant him and put him outside until the nights get 60 degrees or above. As your peanut plant starts to grow, you'll notice him getting taller and taller and taller, and then he's going to start to droop because of the weight. That's okay. You really don't want to cage him or stake him, but what I would recommend is that you get a container as wide as possible. Peanuts don't need a very deep container, but they do like one that's wide, and I'll show you why. A couple of months after you transplant Mr. Peanut outside, he's going to start to flower. This is a beautiful peanut flower. They almost glow in the dark. They're so bright. And he's going to have flowers all the way up the entire height that he's grown. After that flower starts to fade and die, a little stick, what we call a peanut peg, starts to come out of that flower. This is a peanut peg that has not made its way down to the ground yet, but it's trying to. Peanut pegs that come out of those flowers plunge themselves down into the ground, and that's where the peanut forms. This peanut peg has made its way into the ground, and underneath the soil, a little baby peanut is forming. A few weeks later, we've got peanut pegs all over the place. This is why you need as wide of a container as possible. You see this peg hanging out over the side of the container? There's no soil for him to hit. When he gets long enough, we can tuck him into the container, but if you start out with the widest container possible, you'll have less of that to do. Towards the end of the summer, you can kind of start to do a little check. You can find a peg and just follow it down, and just with your finger start brushing away some of the soil. Because I can't wait. It's like Christmas Day. I got to see what's going on. There's our peanut. They don't grow very far under the soil. He's still, my goodness, that is a 3 peanut. 1, 2, 3. And you'll have peanuts of varying maturity on this plant. Some will be very, very mature. Other pegs maybe didn't hit the soil for, oh, here's one. Look at that little guy. He's nowhere near mature. Brand new, just forming. So varying degrees. Leave this peanut plant as long as you possibly can. When it starts to turn yellow and die, that's the time to harvest your plant. We'll cover those guys back up. Our plant is starting to turn yellow. It's starting to look like, horrible. But we've got freezing weather coming in tonight, so it's time to harvest our peanuts. You just pull them up. There they are. Mr. Peanut Plant has served us very, very well. Make sure you dry your peanuts properly. Don't eat them raw. There you go. Happy peanut growing. Thanks for watching. Please check out my other videos, and as always, hit the red subscribe button below to see more gardening videos.